a country like Pakistan will sign a bilateral agreement with another country. Well, Islamabad is very pleasant. I tend to like big cities, so I always enjoy when I go to Karachi and Lahore. There's a hustle and bustle. Children are being sent to the fields to contribute to the household production instead of being sent to school, for example. Occasionally I find the food a bit spicy, but that's something I'm learning to live with. Freedom, security, equality, and human dignity.
The best thing and the worst thing you have experienced in Pakistan.
ये रेडियो पाकिस्तान पॉडकास्ट है।
Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers and listeners. This is Umar Cheema, and I have with me Mr. Geir Tonstol. He is the country head of International Labour Organization in Pakistan. And he is basically from Norway, and he has spent a long time working with the ILO in different countries. And we are very pleased to have him with us, and we'll ask him different questions, and I hope that you will enjoy the interview. Welcome to the show, Mr. Geir.
Thank you, Umar.
Yeah.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much. So since long have you been here in Pakistan?
I came to Pakistan in January 2023, so I've been here for just over a year and a half now in my capacity as ILO country director.
Right. So what you thought before coming to Pakistan, and what's your feelings now?
Well, I have served with the ILO in a number of countries, including in our headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland, and in the Africa region. I've always been excited about the prospect of moving to another region, a region that I didn't know as well. So it's been a steep learning curve, but a very enjoyable one. I think Pakistan is a beautiful country, and Islamabad, of course, is a very pleasant city in which to live. So I'm enjoying myself.
Where have you been before? In other countries, I mean.
Yes, I started my ILO career in our headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland. I moved from there to Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, our regional office for Africa.
Right.
Then I returned to Geneva for a period, and then came here. So it's been a 21-year-old journey with the ILO for me so far.
Right. So tell us about the ILO objectives in Pakistan. What are you doing here? I mean, the ILO, and what are your missions, the goals?
Well, the ILO, the International Labour Organization, is in fact one of the oldest organizations in the UN system. It was created in 1919, and Pakistan became a member in 1947. The ILO was created with the mandate to promote decent work, to ensure that workers and employers were able to perform in conditions of freedom, security, equality, and human dignity. So that is our mandate. In Pakistan, we have a very close partnership with the government, and we also work with employers' organizations and trade unions. So our setup is tripartite, as we say. So many organizations only work with the government, but we have a broader membership which spans also employers and workers. So together with these partners, we have signed only last year a decent work country program for Pakistan, where we have identified priorities for our collaboration. And we've come up with 4 big blocks under which we support the government, employers and workers, and those are employment creation, creating jobs, particularly for young people in Pakistan. Those are social protection, making sure that workers can access social safeguards and social protection, particularly all those in the informal economy. It is international labor standards. ILO has 190 labor standards. Pakistan has ratified several of these, and we support the government in implementing those conventions. And the last big area of collaboration for us in Pakistan is occupational safety and health, making workplaces safe and inclusive, and limiting hazards at the workplace. So those are the 4 big blocks under which we are currently working.
So, how many conventions Pakistan have not ratified yet?
Well, out of the 190 conventions, Pakistan has ratified 36. But amongst those 36, there are 8 so-called fundamental conventions. And those are fundamental in the sense that they are at the core of ILO's mandate. So that would be the conventions on child labor, on forced labor, on the right to unionize, the right to bargain collectively for your rights in the workplace. So Pakistan has ratified 8 fundamental conventions and 36 in total. And we would like to see, of course, more ratifications. So we are currently doing our best to support government in paving the road for further ratifications of conventions.
And let's talk about the ratified convention. Are they being implemented?
Yes, the conventions, of course, once they have been ratified by Pakistan or a country, it becomes that country's responsibility to integrate the conventions into national law. And then, depending on the type of convention, a country then reports on progress to the ILO. So every 6 years, a country reports on progress on some conventions. Every 2 years, they report on progress on the fundamental conventions that I mentioned. And we do see a political will and commitment from the government of Pakistan to honor their obligations under ratified conventions, which is positive. And then we also realize that it is, of course, a challenge sometimes to implement all the provisions of a convention, and that's where we come in and try to be of support and assistance. We see, for example, the Convention on Child Labor, which Pakistan has ratified and is implementing. We still see child labor, of course, in Pakistan. So that means there is an additional effort needed to support a country like Pakistan to meet the provisions of a convention, and that's where we come in.
Do you issue any annual reports about the state of labor in Pakistan or in other countries?
We do have periodic reports on the social and economic outlook of not only Pakistan but the Asia-Pacific region in general. We also contribute to labor force surveys in Pakistan, and recently the provinces of Pakistan have carried out surveys on child labor to provide an up-to-date estimate of the prevalence of child.
The government is carrying out surveys?
Yes, the government at provincial level is carrying out surveys, for example, of the prevalence of child labor, so that they can have an understanding of how profound the problem is and how we can address it. So yes, we do contribute to these regular reviews, in addition to monitoring progress on the Decent Work country program that Pakistan has signed with us.
Coming back to the child labor,
yes,
is there any survey which suggests that the percentage or the ratio of the household workers which is child labor?
Well, it differs a bit from province to province, and we do see in some provinces that the percentages have gone slightly up. We did see during COVID and during the floods in 2022 that instances of child labor and other forms of unacceptable forms of work, bonded labor, forced labor, increased. And that is, of course, dramatic because during those times of crisis, you have very few social safety nets to fall back on. And the fallout is that children are being sent to the fields to contribute to the household production instead of being sent to school, for example. So we do see a slight increase, and we do see from the provinces that there is a prevalence of child labor which is which is worrisome.
Can you tell us about the province where the child labor ratio is higher than other provinces?
I think it differs not only province to province, but also district to district. And we see some sectors that, provinces that have a large agricultural sector, there is often more child labor. We see sectors such as the automotive industry where there is a prevalence of child labor. So it's not really the provinces, it's more the sectors. And there are some sectors that are more prone to child labor.
The biggest sector consuming the child labor is agriculture, right?
Well, agriculture is one because of its scope and size, and of course that's.
And what about the legal minimum wage? Are you working on it? Because I see there these guards and other low-paid employees, they are not even provided the legal minimum wage.
Yes, of course, minimum wage exists, and we see that it is a challenge to implement, and many workers regrettably are not being paid minimum wage, and that of course is a concern. So we are also in our conversations with the government and with our partners encouraging awareness raising around minimum wage and enforcement of minimum wage. One of the initiatives that we've launched is to strengthen the labor inspectorate in Pakistan and to train labor inspectors and to equip them with skills to be able to carry out their mandates even more efficiently and effectively, and I think that is critical for any country to have a functioning labor inspectorate that can take action when there is a breach of compliance, such as not paying minimum wage, for example.
You have been to many countries, and obviously, you must be drawing a comparison that how the legal minimum wage issue is rampant in Pakistan and in other places. Where you found it in the worst form, where it was the most challenging thing, and what ILO has done, is there any effective intervention to address the issue?
Well, I don't want to mention countries, but of course, one of the challenges that many countries, including Pakistan, face is that there is such a big informal sector. 72% of the workforce engaged in the informal economy, which is non-regulated and where they have very limited access to rights and very limited access to give voice to their concerns. So that we see in many countries is a hindrance, not only to minimum wage provisions, but also to other provisions of decent work, access to social security, access to legal provisions, simply because it's unregulated and it's informal. So that is a comparison that I've seen between many countries, and that we also see here in Pakistan.
Informal economy,
which is engaging the vast majority of workers in Pakistan.
Right. So. Other than the agriculture sector, I see even these security guards, and that's not about the informal economy, but most of the time they hire such employees through a third party, and then they can easily evade accountability. But even the third party, isn't that accountable?
Yes, it is, and of course it is also something we would like to see happening. That third-party contractors also receive the bare minimum of decent working conditions, including minimum wage, of course. And there should not be an avenue of escape simply because it's a third-party contractor and you don't have to respect the workers' rights. Of course. That is not the intention. So we would, in the work we do, certainly also champion their rights.
Right. So employees old age benefit institutions. How is it doing? Is there any ILO interference? I mean, in terms of research or the policy level, the kind of suggestions where you think it needs improvement?
Well, we of course engage. I don't think we are working directly with the OBI, but we certainly have research in the field of pensions and benefits, and this of course falls under the umbrella of social protection, and one of the challenges in Pakistan is that very few people access significant social protection benefits. I think the average in Pakistan is that just over 9% have access to at least one social security benefit, whether it be pension, whether it be employment injury, whether it be unemployment benefit. Just over 9%. I think the global average is just over 46%. So that means there is a significant gap in access to social protection. And again, coming back to the point I made earlier about when crisis hits, and we saw that in 2022 during the floods, people have very little to fall back on if you do not have a sort of robust social protection machinery that can sort of support you in times of shock. So a lot of our focus since then has been to better equip or support our partners better equip themselves and Pakistan with more robust policy tools, so that if and when crisis strikes again, then you have something to fall back on.
What's your thought about the pension reforms? As you mentioned, that was that covered in the study conducted by the ILO?
No, I couldn't say that. So I can't really comment on the pension.
So when you say that 90% have the social protection,
9%.
So sorry, 9%.
Yeah.
9%. So do that include the regular pensioners?
Well, the number is just over 9% of all Pakistanis access at least one social security benefit, whether that be a pension or whether that be an employment injury benefit or an unemployment benefit or some other benefit. So it's an average of.
So that includes the serving and retired both.
That would, yes.
Right. What is your proud achievement in Pakistan? If you look back at the ILO work and you realize that this was the meaningful interference, we did really great thing.
Well, Pakistan is a big country. We all know it's the 5th largest country in the world. So change does not come quickly. I mean, it's a big country, yeah? and things take time. And of course, there are complexities in the sense that there is certain work that happens at federal level and then certain work that happens at provincial level. So you also need to find balance of how to most effectively implement. I was mentioned that we signed last year a Decent Work Country program for Pakistan. That was the 4th Decent Work Country program Pakistan has signed. So I think that shows a long-standing commitment from Pakistan to ILO's mandate, and Pakistan wishes to play a leading role in championing decent work. When it comes to very concrete projects and achievements, I'm very proud of the work that we've achieved in some sectors to address unacceptable forms of work. I'm thinking of the brick kiln sector, for example, where we've had very good progress in terms of mitigating child labour, and where we've also been able to create trade unions, support the creation of trade unions, so that workers in the sector have a voice. So these sectoral achievements, I think, are significant, and they also contribute to meeting the objectives of our Decent Work Country program. We've also worked very closely with the government on compliance with labour standards. Of course, Pakistan benefits from the preferential trade agreement with the EU, the so-called GSP Plus agreement. Under that agreement, Pakistan has to comply with 27 conditionalities, many of which are international labor standards, and we've made, I think, progress in terms of ensuring Pakistan's compliance with those standards. So ensuring that Pakistan meets the criteria of GSP Plus and can continue exporting and benefiting from that.
What is the Decent Work Program?
Well, the Decent Work Program, Decent Work Country Program is sort of the umbrella program that ILO has signed with the government and with our partners in Pakistan. So it's sort of our work plan for the next 5 years. So we signed it last year. So it's 2023 to 27. And it sets out the big areas that we will collaborate on. And in that sense, it becomes our agreed work plan with the government and partners in Pakistan.
Can you explain about the intended goals that you want to achieve?
Yes, I think, as we are moving fast towards 2030 and the Agenda 2030, the Sustainable Development Goals is sort of coming to an end. I think our priority now has to be to support as best as we can Pakistan and the people of Pakistan to reach the Sustainable Development Goals as best as we can. ILO, of course, has a particular relation to Sustainable Development Goal number 8, which is decent and productive work. And I think going forward, precisely the need for job creation is going to be a big priority, because Pakistan has a very young population, and a population that in a few years will consist of many job seekers, because people will be entering working age, and right now there simply aren't enough job opportunities for all these youth in Pakistan.
So what ILO can do regarding that?
Well, we can support in many ways the needed policy changes that can contribute to more job creation in the country, to make sure.
For example, if you can explain that, what can be done?
Well, if you have a youth employment policy, for example, you would then identify areas where skills are needed, so that you could ensure skills institutions build the capacity of young people in areas that are in demand in the labor market. Many places now we see that young people are given skills, for example, that are not in demand. So they are being trained in areas that do not provide them with work opportunities. So then you have a mismatch, a skills mismatch. So we can contribute to effective policies on skills, on youth employment, and also on migration, because we know for a fact that many people will be migrating out of Pakistan looking for work, and already are. And of course, ILO is concerned that labor migration should be safe and fair, and that migrant workers' rights should be protected, and that there are opportunities for these migrant workers also when they come back to the country. So effective labor migration policies is another area where we see the need for enhanced efforts.
I see the skilled labor is in high demand in many countries in Europe and in Middle East and other places.
Yes.
Pakistanis want to go there, the government want to export the labor, but they lack skill.
Mm-hmm.
So any suggestion or collaboration you are doing with the government to address that challenge?
Yeah, you're quite right. And of course, on average, a skilled migrant worker will remit 3 times as much as an unskilled migrant worker. So in terms of, from the perspective of remittances, there is every good argument to ensure a skilled migrant labor force, and of course the migrant worker himself or herself will also benefit from that. what we have done in some countries and have also been initiating here is to ensure that a country like Pakistan will sign a bilateral agreement with another country, a recipient country that requires labor, whether it be in Europe or elsewhere, and where the skills requirements of that country are sort of spelt out, so that, you know, if you know a certain country needs 1,000 midwives, then you would have a basis to then train 1,000 midwives and make sure they would be employed in that country. So these types of bilateral agreements between countries have proven a good practice, and they can make sure that the skills that are in demand are being provided, so that you ensure the skills are needed.
Has Pakistan signed such agreements?
I believe Pakistan has signed a number of agreements with particularly countries in the GCC area, the Gulf states, and of course I think Saudi Arabia is right now the largest host of Pakistani migrant workers.
But do you think we have enough response time? For example, if they are in need of 1,000 midwives and we start training them, and in the process they obviously these vacancies are filled by from other countries.
Yeah, and obviously this is a process over time, and you have to remember also if you're going to Germany, for example, to work as a midwife, you'd also need to learn German, and so it requires a whole machinery really to make sure that the labor migration is as effective as possible. And of course, as I mentioned, we're very concerned that migrant workers' rights are respected and that they are treated fairly. We know.
Coming back to Pakistan, although we are discussing Pakistan, so you have been here for more than a year.
Yes.
A year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So the best thing and the worst thing you have experienced in Pakistan?
I think the best thing is the diversity of the country and the absolutely welcoming atmosphere that I experience every day, and I enjoy every single day of my work here, and must say I appreciate tremendously the experience, and traveling to Lahore, traveling to Karachi, traveling to Quetta or Peshawar, I meet our partners, I meet government employers and workers, and it's a very meaningful and enriching experience. So that's only positive. I wouldn't say I've had any particularly bad experiences. Occasionally I find the food a bit spicy, but that's something I'm learning to live with. So.
Oh, really? Yeah.
But overall, it's been very positive.
So, which is the best city or where you want to live if you are in Pakistan? Other than Islamabad.
Well, Islamabad is very pleasant. I tend to like big cities, so I always enjoy when I go to Karachi and Lahore. There's a hustle and bustle, so I think Lahore is a beautiful city, and certainly a city where I could see myself living. Now, I must say, though, that Islamabad is a very pleasant city to live.
And for tourism, have you been to anywhere?
I haven't had a chance yet to go up north, but that's certainly something that is on my agenda before I leave. It takes a bit of planning and it takes a little bit of logistics, but inshallah we'll make that work before I leave.
So you have learned inshallah word.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us.
No, thank you for having me.
And it was quite interesting to hear your perspective, your thoughts, and the work you are doing.
Thank you.
And I hope that our viewers and listeners would also have enjoyed it. Thank you for joining us. Allah Hafiz.
ये रेडियो पाकिस्तान पॉडकास्ट है।